the day Kunti gave birth to Indra's son Arjuna, another birth took place in a place far away. This was a child who would guide the Pandavas into war and bring about the end of an age. This is the story of how that child, Krishna, was born. A cruel king by the name of Kans ruled Mathura. He was a cruel ruler, and the people of Mathura longed for change and peace. On the day Kans got his cousin Devaki married to Vasudeva, a voice boomed from the sky and told him of his impending death. Kans was told that the 8th child born to this couple would be his slave. Kans grew furious. In his anger, he decided to kill his cousin and her husband then and there. But Devaki begged him to let them live. Kans was arrogant, but he did love his sister. Kans did not end their lives. He threw them into prison. He decided that killing Devaki's 8th child would get rid of the death that the Akashvani had foretold for him. But Kans wanted to be sure. In a show of demonic cruelty, he decided to kill all of Devaki's children. Every time Devaki gave birth to a child, Kans smashed the newborn against the walls of the prison cell. In this manner, he killed 6 of Devaki's innocent children. When Devaki was pregnant with her 7th child, goddess Mahamaya transported the unborn child from its mother's womb to the womb of Rohini, Vasudeva's first wife. Since Devaki didn't give birth, everyone except Vasudeva thought she had suffered a miscarriage. Kans, for once, was happy. He now awaited the 8th child, the last threat to his life. When Devaki became pregnant with her 8th child, a divine light filled the prison cell. Up in Devalok, the gods rejoiced because Vishnu was coming to earth. Even animals of the forest felt the happiness emanating from the earth. When the time came, Devaki gave birth to the 8th incarnation of Vishnu. The happiness in her heart at having birthed a god overpowered all fears she had had until now. Even Vasudeva could tell that no power on earth will harm this child. But even as he held his son, Vasudeva knew that guards approached their prison cell and word had reached Kans about the birth of his slayer. But he need not have worried. Sleep was coming to Mathura.
It was raining hard that night. As Vasudeva stood in his prison cell and beheld his divine son, he wondered what would become of him. He feared the coming of his brother-in-law, the dreaded king of Mathura. But when he looked out of his cell, he found that the gate was unlocked and the guards were deep in sleep. A voice from inside him told him it was all right to go outside. Guided by this voice, Vasudeva took his son with him and stepped into the night. Devaki, as if advised by the same power, let him go in silence. Outside, Vasudeva found that aside from him, nothing moved in Mathura. Holding his son close to his chest, Vasudeva moved alone in the fierce rain. The voice in his head told him to go to the Yamuna. When he reached the raging Yamuna, Vasudeva stood petrified. There was no way he was going to be able to cross this river in spate. The voice in Vasudeva's head told him to surrender to the river Yamuna. Vasudeva bowed to the river's might and asked her for help. When he looked up, he found that a magnificent serpent had emerged from the waters of the Yamuna. A resplendent jewel adorned its hood and lit up the dark night. When Vasudeva stepped into the raging water of the Yamuna, the serpent protected him and his son from the torrential rain with its enormous hood. Thus shielded by the serpent, Vasudeva walked the width of the Yamuna in water that turned out to be waist-deep only. Upon reaching the other bank, Vasudeva found a camp of gypsies. The voice in his head told him that these were the people of Nand, the cowherd. It told him that he had reached his destination. Vasudev entered the camp and, guided by the voice in his head, found Yashoda. She was Nanda's wife and had given birth to a girl, Maya, that very night. Vasudev placed his son next to Yashoda and picked up Maya instead. With Yashoda's daughter Maya, Vasudev left the cowherd's camp quickly. His heart was full of sadness at having abandoned his son, but he was glad that no harm will come to him. The voice in his head assured him that the world was about to change. Kans woke up sweating. A nightmare had haunted him throughout the night. He had dreamed that great tragedy was about to befall him and ruin all that he held dear. When he found from a guard that Devaki had given birth to her 8th child, he was both happy and frightened. As he started walking towards Devaki's prison cell, he wondered what shape his death had taken. He wondered also if this was the last day of his life. But when he reached the cell and saw that the newborn child in Devaki's arms was a girl, Kans laughed like a man who believes he has defeated death. Still laughing, he grabbed the child from Devaki. He asked his sister if she thought he was going to be killed by a woman. He looked to the skies and demanded that the gods answer him. Kans was happy. He held in his hands the secret to immortality. But the moment he raised his hand to smash the little girl against the wall of the prison cell, an explosion of light blinded him. The child fell from his hand, but it did not fall. The little girl that Vasudev had brought with him from Yashoda's bed turned into the blazing form of the many-armed Durga. When Kans regained the use of his eyes, he shuddered and shrunk with fear. He realized that this is what he had dreamed of. Durga, whose light filled up the small prison cell, spoke to Kans directly. She told him that he was a fool to judge her weak because her form was that of a woman. She told Kans that she had slain demons far stronger than him. But she also told him that the destiny that was foretold for him will still consume him. Durga told Kans that his slayer had already been born and was safe somewhere far away. She told him that he will not need to go look for him. When the time comes, the avatar will come to him and fulfill both their destinies. Then Durga disappeared, leaving Kans shivering in the prison cell. Devaki, along with her husband, was now doomed to many more years in prison. She worried for herself, her husband, her son, and even her brother Kans. Yashoda was having a strange week. She had woken up some days ago to find that the child that lay next to her was a boy, not the girl that she remembered having given birth to the previous night. Later, her husband Nand had brought her another boy, Balram, to take care of. He had also brought her news that in faraway Mathura, Mad King Kans had slaughtered hundreds of newborn babies for fear that one of them might grow up to kill him. When Yashoda heard this, she started clutching her sons a little tighter. The world was going mad, and she would not let any harm come to her children. But in the midst of the madness, she also came to realize that she was not the only one who loved Krishna. Holy men, merchants, and travelers from all over the land visited her home in Gokul to see her children. Their lips spoke nothing but blessings, and their eyes held nothing but tears of joy. One day soon, a woman by the name of Putna paid Yashoda's household a visit. She was pleasant to talk to, and little Krishna and Balram took to her instantly. If Yashoda got the feeling that Putna was hiding something, she ignored it. Quickly, Putna became a close part of the Nand family, loved by everyone. And then one night, something horrifying happened. Putna changed form and turned into a terrible demoness. When everyone had fallen asleep, she stole little Krishna away from the house and went out into the moonlit night. Her intention was to kill Krishna by feeding him poisonous milk from her breast. But once Krishna started feeding, Putna realized that something was wrong. The baby was not only drinking her milk, he was also feeding on her powers, her strength, and even the hatred in her heart. The avatar's lips were taking everything from her. Fearing that this child will leave her nothing, Putna tried to separate him from her breast, but she couldn't. The last thing to echo through the night was Putna's dying scream. With the sunrise came Yashoda, Krishna's worried mother. When she had woken to find that Putna and Krishna were both nowhere to be seen, Yashoda had feared the worst. But when she found her baby playing happily next to the corpse of a grotesque demoness, she realized that there was much she had to learn about her son. What Yashoda also did not know was that somewhere far away, King Kans of Mathura was in rage because he had failed to kill his nephew. Putna, his loyal servant, lost to him. But Kans swore that the next demon he sends after Krishna will win.